Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. From Eden to eternity, the Bible tells one big story of redemption. My name is Tiffany, and I want to spend a few minutes with you every day walking through the Bible chronologically. Together, we will explore God's sovereign plan as the events of Scripture unfold and point to Jesus. Hey friends, welcome back to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. Tiffany here, and today we will make our way through Joshua chapters 7 through 9. In Joshua 6, the nation of Israel finally entered the Promised Land and destroyed the city of Jericho. Today, the conquest continues, but not without several hard lessons for Joshua and Israel. Yesterday, we centered our time around 3 locations and mentioned that there would be 7 stone memorials erected throughout the book of Joshua. We will center our time around 3 of these memorials as we walk through our chapters today. Chapter 7 picks up right after the victory in Jericho. In fact, it seems to start rather abruptly when we read, "The Israelites were unfaithful regarding the things set apart for destruction." This was in direct violation of what Joshua told the nation in chapter 6, verse 18. They were to keep themselves from the things set apart for destruction. God had specifically told the nation to destroy everything in Jericho except the silver, gold, iron, and bronze articles that went into the treasury. But Achan, from the tribe of Judah, coveted, disobeyed, and took gold, silver, and a cloak as his plunder. When Joshua sent about 3,000 troops to conquer Ai, the Lord was not with them. They fled in defeat, and 36 men lost their lives. And Scripture tells us that the people lost heart. With this defeat, the nation quickly realized that if God did not fight for them, they had no hope of victory over their enemies. As Joshua saw Moses do many times, he intercedes on behalf of the nation before the Lord. He tore his clothes and put dust on his head in mourning. Joshua knew the nation needed their divine warrior to conquer their enemies. I just love God's no-nonsense response to Joshua. He tells Joshua to get up. Israel had sinned, and if they do not remove the items set apart for destruction from the camp, he will no longer be with them in battle. This might seem harsh to our compassion-loving ears, but God has told the nation many times over, through Moses, what the consequence for such behavior entailed. Like a parent tired of repeating themselves, God has brought punishment. Joshua's heart to intercede for the nation was correct, but Israel needed to take action and seek a heart change. They must consecrate themselves and purge the evil from the nation. God provided a way for the nation to uncover the offender. Through a selection, or casting of lots, Achan and his sin were found out, and the nation followed the statutes and ordinances from Leviticus and Deuteronomy as to how such an offender was handled. Achan was stoned for his rebellion. Once again, this seems harsh, but we have read the law for ourselves over the past couple of months. God made it clear what the punishment for such sins were. But he also made it clear that he was going to bless the nation, care for them, and give them victory if only they were obedient. Achan didn't need to take those items. God was going to provide for him and the nation abundantly. Achan's plunder wasn't worth the price he paid for his disobedience. The place where Achan was stoned and burned was covered with a large pile of rocks that became the second memorial of stones in the book of Joshua. This memorial stood as a reminder to the nation of the consequences for unfaithfulness. Though sobering, this event cleansed the nation from this sin. They could now move forward with God leading them in victory. This event points our hearts to a great need as well. Our sinful hearts crave this same kind of purging of sin. Without the forgiveness of God, we can never move forward in victory over our sin. When God sent Jesus, he provided a way for us to purge sin from our hearts through Christ's sacrificial blood. Jesus bore our punishment so we can move forward in victory. The cross stands as a memorial to the defeat of sin and victory over death. This victory leads followers of Christ to abundant life found in Jesus, both earthly and eternal. We joyfully obey the commands of our God because they are for our good and for His glory. With their hearts consecrated and sin purged from their midst, the nation sought the Lord's instruction for the defeat of Ai. In chapter 8, we read about the military maneuvers and victory over this city. In an act reminiscent of Moses and the defeat of the Amalekites in Exodus 17, Joshua holds up his javelin for the duration of the battle and burning of Ai. After they hung the king and buried him at the city gate, a pile of rocks covered him, and this became the third stone memorial in the Promised Land. This heap of stones was to remind the nation of their second chance and their restoration before the Lord. The rest of chapter 8 details the fulfillment of the ceremony Moses commanded in Deuteronomy 27. Joshua stacked 12 uncut stones on Mount Ebal and wrote the law on them. Then half the tribes stood at the foot of Mount Ebal, and half of the tribes stood at the foot of Mount Gerizim. Joshua read aloud all the words of the law, the blessings and curses, statutes and ordinances. This was the fourth memorial in the Promised Land and reminded the nation to live in obedience to the law. We close today with chapter 9 and the deception of the Gibeonites. The key statement in this chapter is found in verse 14 when it says that Israel did not seek the Lord's decision. Joshua and the other elders of Israel relied on their own discernment when the Gibeonites approached them to make a peace treaty. They never sought the Lord's discernment. Once the deception of the Gibeonites was made, there was no way of breaking the treaty. The city and nation could not be destroyed, but they were made servants of Israel as woodcutters and water carriers. The Gibeonites were deceptive in their dealings, but they did acknowledge and declare the glory of the God of the Israelites. Their lives were spared, but this won't be the last time we hear about them. Our chapters today show us the importance of remembering who God is and what He has done. We may no longer build stone memorials, but we can look back over our lives and see how we have failed, how we've been forgiven, and how God has carried us through trials and victories. God never changes. He is just as faithful today as He was thousands of years ago. We trust Him and serve Him with our lives because He is worthy of all praise and glory. Thanks for joining me today, friends. Don't forget that you can follow along on our Instagram pages at Daily Grace Podcast and at The Daily Grace Co. And you can check out our website, thedailygraceco.com, for resources to help you dig deeper. I'll see you tomorrow as we study Joshua 10 through 12. Bye!